Ik sprak met Ryan Martin, een componist, in het Engels. Hij heeft veel muziek gemaakt die je waarschijnlijk wel eens hebt gehoord. Of in reclames of in films. En hij deed veel bekende musicals, waaronder musicals op de West End in Londen. Een kanje. Ik heb genoten van het gesprek. Veel plezier.
Ontmoet bijzondere mensen. Leer nieuwe dingen. En update je mening. Dit is de podcast van New Life University. Update je mening met Anatol. Anatol is topcoach en spreker in het bedrijfsleven. Hij begeleidt leden van raden van bestuur, topdirecties en high potentials van grote Nederlandse organisaties. En traint bij New Life University mensen die willen groeien of op een kruispunt in hun leven staan. Tap in op zijn kennis en netwerk en laat je inspireren. Update je mening met Anatol.
Je kunt de podcast ook beluisteren via Apple Podcasts, Spotify en Overcast.
Hi there, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Can you please introduce yourself and the rest will happen?
I am Ryan Martin. I'm a composer. I'm originally from London. I wasn't very interested in music originally. I was interested in football. I just wanted to be a football player. That's all I wanted to do. But when I was 5, my first memory was my parents took me to a Phil Collins concert. And I saw Phil Collins and the drummer Chester Thompson playing. I said, I want to do that. That's all I want to do. So they didn't really think anything of it. But my dad lived away in Liverpool at the time. And in Liverpool, they have a place called the Caverns, which is an amazing place. People should visit it if they haven't. And it's where the Beatles first did all their first gigs before they were signed. And there's a statue there of the Beatles. And
Really?
I saw drums again and was like, I'd like to do that. So my parents bought me some drums when I was maybe 6. And on the day that it happened, on my birthday, when I got the drums, my older brother came running down the stairs and hit the snare drum and it broke. That was that.
Since then?
They went away in the cupboard. That was it.
Really?
Yeah, nothing happened with them again. For quite a while. We then moved house and the drums came out again and I started hitting them. And the next door neighbor said, does he play drums? And my parents thinking, is there a problem with the noise or so? And they said, no, we have somebody at our local church that really would love to have some more students. And do you want to come and learn? So they said, yeah, I think he probably would. So off I went to the church and learned from this guy. And he was great. He had this really big kit in the church and it was all really nice. And after 3 lessons, he said to my parents, I can't teach him anymore. He needs a really proper teacher. And
Was the rhythm already in your body?
yeah, it was already there. But my parents are not musical at all. My mum was a historian and my dad was an engineer. There was nothing musical about them. And I then went to this new teacher called David White, and he came from the military background. So it was very disciplined.
You got the drill there.
Oh, really seriously. Yeah.
You needed it or you did?
Did I need it? I think probably at the beginning, it was good to have that level of discipline of this is your homework. You turn up to on time. You are smart. You're presentable. All those sorts of things were drilled into me by him as well, actually, thinking about it. But he was an incredible teacher. Incredible. I mean, most of the music he taught me was, like swing music, big band music, and he had his own big band.
March rhythm, 1, 2, 1, 2,
all that,
1,
yeah,
2. Yeah,
everything,
really? Yeah,
all of it, all those kind of things, And he was great, and I loved it. But my parents, I was the kind of kid they had to tell to stop playing. Mm-hmm. My dad used to come home from nights, and he would be waking up around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 in the afternoon, and I would just be waiting for him to get up. And literally the moment I heard those foot hit the floor, that was it. I was down playing. My parents had to stop me from practicing.
And what was it?
I don't know. It gave me so much joy.
And comfort? the rhythm?
Yeah, the rhythm was really comforting, but also listening to people like Phil Collins and listening to, I mean, Genesis and Phil Collins were a big influence. I think for any drummer, those two bands are enormous.
Question about that. Were and are they really good, or is it a show around it? Or really skillful?
They're just really skillful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Phil Collins, people kind of think of him as a singer, obviously, but as a drummer, he will stand amongst the greats. And it's not necessarily for his technical ability. He's one of those drummers that doesn't have what I would call like an incredible groove, like really technically groovy, but it hits me here. And that's all that matters for me. You know, there's some incredible musicians that can play incredible things, but they do nothing for me in my heart. And that is the most important thing fundamentally. There has to be a reaction in as we talk about with brain, there has to be a reaction in the brain for me to make the heart, make it feel that it should be there. So yeah, Phil Collins really did that.
And then?
And then my parents said to me, it was the time when I was around 11 going into secondary school. And my parents said, look, you can go to the high school that is here, but the music facilities are not very good.
So they already knew?
Yeah, they knew that there was, they couldn't stop me from playing. Yeah. So they were like, they wanted to try and nurture it, you know? Yeah. And my drum teacher was a teacher at a boarding school. So they said, do you want to go off to boarding school? So I said, okay, yeah, why not? So I did. I went off to boarding school between the age of 11 and 16. And I loved every minute of it. I just enjoyed it. I could be with my friends all the time. I could play sports all the time. The teaching was incredible because there were only maybe 10 people in my class. Like my music class, when I got to the elder stage in the more exam level, I was the only person taking music. So I had one-to-one tuition.
Wow.
You know, it was incredible.
But did you have maybe a strange word, did you have a normal life there, or was it music?
It was completely normal. Yeah. So, what is normal?
Yeah.
Normal for me at the time.
By what standard?
Yeah, by what standard?
Yeah.
I mean, I had, just some incredible teachers, musically wise, and also with regard to maths and English and science, all those sorts of things. But I loved sport as well. I still really loved sport.
Yeah, the reason I ask you is because a lot of people in music or in when they are artists, they are really, really focused on one thing. And they don't really have a very broad scope. But you had a complete normal life.
Yeah, I had a broad scope. But also, I was also the kid that we used to have lessons between. So we'd get up in the morning around 7, go and have breakfast as everyone together. And then around 8:30, every morning we'd have a meeting with the headmaster. The whole school would have an assembly. Then we'd go off to class. We'd have sport most days as well. And then in the evening, we would finish school around 5. And then we'd all have to sit down mandatory and do our homework, which they called prep. And we'd all sit in a room and do our prep for an hour. And then after that, you'd have food. And then between 7:30 and 10 o'clock, you would have free time. And I was straight to the music room. That was it.
Again?
Yeah, straight to the music room.
Wow.
Yeah. But my the one thing that I'm eternally grateful to my drum teacher for is that he didn't just let me play drums. He made sure that I learned xylophone, glockenspiel, timpani, all the orchestral side of it, so that I learned harmony. And I learned about the piano and about the keyboard and about how harmony works, all those things, because as a drummer, you really get to work with rhythm, which is great, but you never really deal in harmony. There's never a key signature as a drummer or anything like that. So, and I hated it. If I'm really honest, I really didn't enjoy the harmonic side of it, learning it. Then. But now I cannot be more grateful for somebody showing me something that I didn't realize I would appreciate for many years later.
Yeah, it makes you complete as a musician, I think.
Yeah.
You understand the rest.
Yeah. I just wanted to hit drums and make people dance. That's all I cared about, you know. And I think later on, as I got older, if I hadn't have learnt that harmony, I don't think my career would have. I think I would have diverted into some other career. I really do think that, because my time as the later on in the story, my time as a drummer, I kind of fell out of love with it a little bit. And I don't know whether, actually thinking about it right now, I fell out of love with being a drummer or whether I fell more in love with being a writer. Yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Both.
Yeah, maybe both. Yeah. But I went to boarding school up to the age of 16 and
with a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
Drums was in your system already.
Yeah.
I think you learned a few new techniques, but it was already in.
Yeah.
Harmonics. So you were being prepped for the big stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, at 13 years old, I was playing with 30, 40 piece orchestras at school.
Well, that's called the talent.
Yeah, you know, which is really cool.
A normal.
That was. I mean, getting up in the morning and doing choir practice was just normal life for me. And I didn't really like singing either, and I'm a terrible singer. But again, that extra part of the learning process that you think you're not going to ever use. It's amazing how you pick it up unconsciously as well.
Yeah. And in hindsight, you all needed it to become who you are right now.
Yeah, I wish I'd actually concentrated a little bit harder, to be honest. Yeah, because I think, but maybe I concentrated enough to get the level of
freedom as an artist.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have no freedom anymore.
Yeah,
and you do the things other people say.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want it.
No, not really. I mean, it's funny you pick up on that because when I moved so I finished boarding school at 16 years old, and then I think around 6 months before my 16th birthday, my parents found out a place called the Brit School, which was in central London, and my parents said, "Do you want to go?" I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, my parents really they were not pushy parents at all. But they were very much, look, if there's an opportunity and you would like to do it, then we'll try and make it happen.
Lucky there.
Yeah, very, very. My father, we were living right near Dover, that's where I'm like originally from. And my dad would drive 90 minutes to an hour, 120 minutes every single day to work and back. He worked in London and he drove every single day there and back.
Wow.
Yeah. And it got to the point where I had this opportunity to go to a school in London and my dad wouldn't have to do that traveling anymore. So my parents sold the house, we moved to London and I went to the Brit School.
All for you?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's the lucky part.
Yeah, which is why now, doing the job that I do, I feel glad that I could look my parents in the eye. Knowing all the sacrifice they made paid off.
Can you describe the job, and then we go on with your story, and we dive into other things, so that people understand what exactly you do? So,
my job entails creating music for, any form of media that people might want. So whether that would be a magician on stage that wants music that perfectly fits the act that they do, or whether it be for an advertising company that want music specifically for their advert. And the goal for me is to really get into film. That's the goal.
Yeah, will happen.
I really hope so.
No, will happen.
It will.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I believe that.
Because most artists, I try to understand what you do and what the business is around. A lot of people with a lot of talents are not disciplined. And a lot of people in general don't want to pay the price. They just want the fame. And I think I'm talking to somebody who has the discipline and who is willing to pay the price.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's normal. But not a lot of people do that.
No.
You know that. So
Yeah, I guess
it
so.
will happen. Film. Yeah.
Yeah, I for me, it's a case of if you really do want something, you have to put in the hours. And also, I also feel like I don't need to shout about putting in the hours. I see so many people talking about how busy they are and how this they are and how that. Isn't that what we all want to do? We all want to make something, achieve something, have something to show for it, put something out there. And the thing that I get most excited about is when you put something out there and somebody sees something in 3.5 minutes that has taken you a month to create.
Just let them enjoy it. 3.5
and it's
minutes.
gone for 3.5 minutes, but it's been a whole month of the proceedings behind it.
We call it, I don't know if that's the correct word, we call it the magical dust. So don't show the preparation and all the tears and all the frustration.
No,
just say, I have a song, 3.5 minutes, and also have a 12 seconds version.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go, it's done.
It's the magical dust, we call that.
Yeah, it's true. It is true. And I think it's like theatre as well. You know, people, when they go and watch a show, they see all the lights and everything, but they will never really understand what goes on backstage and how it all works.
Yeah.
And it's for the best because
you don't want to. You buy a ticket and you want the show.
You want the show.
But what I find particularly interesting is that you also write music that only lasts for 7 seconds or 15 seconds or 20 seconds. Is that more difficult?
That's very challenging because especially for, let's say, for instance, somebody would like an intro for their website or for their social media that they're going to do. So every single video they put out, they have an ident, I would kind of call it.
Yeah.
And you want to try and portray their vibe and what they do in 7 seconds of music.
Now, 3.5 minutes is difficult, but a few seconds.
I find a few seconds even harder.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's even harder.
Yeah, it's even harder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and 3.5 minutes is fine. I mean, even 60 minutes worth of music is actually easier than that. It gets even easier the longer it is because you have longer to tell your story.
So music is telling a story?
Yeah, for sure. For me, the way I will never be able to describe my music in words. I can't. I literally, I find it so difficult to describe it in words.
Is it a feeling?
Yeah. Yes, complete feeling. And it's something that, there was a great quote that said, music is there when words fail.
Wow.
And that is it. It sums it up for me. Yeah, and that's the goal. That is the aim for me. Whether it gives somebody in a film anxiety when they're watching it, for instance, in a chase scene, you know, there's something like that. Look at Jaws, for instance.
Yeah. That was in my mind. Yeah, of course.
You have Jaws, and that sums it up. And interestingly, that cue almost never made it into the film because Steven Spielberg thought the dum was far too comical. And it was only John Williams that really pushed his idea through, saying, no, this is going to work, this is going to work. And that's, everyone says Jaws and they think of that thing. Everyone thinks of it.
It's amazing. I know it's a Pavlov reaction. We'll talk about it later, but it's amazing that with 2 tones or ta-ta-ta-tum.
Yeah, that's it.
He become world famous.
Yeah, just 2 things.
2 things, amazing.
Yeah, and I think that is also it, is simplicity. Really comes to you in the end once you've, in music you can try and overcomplicate things, or you can really
in life, in business,
in life, in everything you can overcomplicate anything. And I think that in music, for instance, like you can end up going, oh, look at all these notes, everything, you know, but ultimately simplicity really is the best way.
Yeah. You put a lot of songs in my mind now. You triggered a lot of songs. But I think genius is in getting complex things easy and simple. And that's so difficult.
Yeah.
A part of my job is making presentations in PowerPoint as a consultant. And most of the time I get 200 slides with information and a lot of information per slide. And I have to compress it. That's my thing in 5 to 10 slides. Nobody sees how frustrating that process can be.
I can't imagine.
It's amazing. It's challenging simplicity. So 13 and then a few years more and
It's a strange part from here, because this is where when I went to Brit School, I ended up really enjoying it. But the subject that I dropped was recording, being a producer or being involved in recording in any way, shape or form. My teacher was good, but I just wasn't interested. So I asked the school if I could drop the recording techniques sessions. And they said, yeah, fine, but you need to replace it with orchestrating. So I went off and did orchestrating, but there wasn't a class for orchestrating. So I created my own. So I went off.
That's also normal.
On my own. I went, okay. And also at Brit School, we had 18 hours of lessons a week. That was it. So we had 18 lessons of scheduled time. But the school was open between 7 and I think 7:30 in the evening. So it was open pretty much the whole good full day you could use there. But some days I would only have a class at 1:30 till 3 or something. But because my journey was so long, it was a 2.5 hour with, I think, 3 buses, 2 trains and a tram to get to school.
That's paying the price.
Yeah. I thought, well, if I'm going to make that journey, I'm not going in for an hour and a half. I'm going to go in for the whole day. So even if I only had one lesson, I would be in the whole day. I have these incredible facilities. I have a room with an incredible piano. I have a whole suite with computers that I can sit and work out how this works. Let's go. Why not? Why would I spend a 2.5 hour journey there and another 2.5 hours back to do an hour and a half
being
of
economic
study?
Why? Yeah.
So I was in a lot early. And then when I got the ability to drive and turned 18 and was able to drive, I was still going in because I'd hit that pattern.
Yeah.
Nothing changed.
In your system.
Yeah. Because the journey, unfortunately, the way that sometimes the transport works in London is you have to kind of go really far into London to then come back out. You can't get a train that goes across town sometimes. But with the car, it was only a 35-minute journey. So it was incredible how my journey time had been reduced.
But there's a difference. If you sit in the car, you have to drive. You do it most of the time unconsciously. But if you sit on openbaar vervoer, trains and metros, you can do a lot of musical stuff in your mind.
You really can. It's lots of time for thinking.
Tell me, what did you do in your mind?
Well, this was before iPods and before any phones, no distractions.
What age are you now?
Now 35.
You have to think about it. Nice.
Yeah.
Living life to the fullest. Yeah. 35. Yeah.
So, we didn't. I don't even think I had a mobile phone at that age, and I was just with my homework or reading a book. We had a film composers class. There was a specific class on film scoring and film composers, and I was always reading those books. We went through some cues from John Williams in E.T., the flying theme and how that worked. And I would just read this stuff thinking, I want to do this. Even at that age, I knew I would love to one day stand in front of an orchestra with a film at the back, playing music that had come from my head.
You will.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's something that I would love to do, because I had an incredible experience years later doing a show that I'd written, and it was in the West End, and I sat in the auditorium. The show had been up and running, and I sat in the auditorium, and the show was happening, everything was fine, but not one person in that room knew who I was. They had no idea, but yet they were all listening to something that had come out of my brain, and I find that incredible.
Wow.
I love that anonymity as well, to a degree. I love I don't necessarily need to be famous. But sitting in a room and people going, oh, this is great, or what a great show, to be a part of that, but not have to say that was me.
Oh, eavesdropping on
compliments. I love that. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of interesting for me as well.
And you composed a lot,
Yeah.
but it started in the mind. At what age you start composing in your mind? Because a lot of musicians play music of other people, and that's not bad.
No.
But you do more than that.
Yeah.
So at what age you started to compose in your mind?
I think probably around the age of 16. I think
There you
around
go.
then, maybe even earlier. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I was able to really look back and have accuracy on when I started thinking that. But for sure, early as 16 in my head, because we had composition classes. So we were literally told, here is a subject, and I want you to write something for a minute long.
For me to understand it well, a subject is not music. It's just a subject, a content subject.
Yeah, content.
And then they say, make music.
Yeah. And they have all these different things within it. So you do a music strand at school, and you have practical, which is where they will say, okay, you're a drummer, we have a bass player, we have a guitarist and a pianist, and here's a songwriter. So that songwriter is now going to teach you all their song, and you need to now put the drum part and the bass part all together. Everyone needs to come together in a room and put that all together. And then there may be 10 songwriters in a class. So as one of the only drummers in the year, I ended up playing for most people. So I wasn't really writing back then. I was just playing drums for people. And that was also great. It was really, really nice. I really enjoyed that. And we used to do the end of every term, a concert with some of the best backline and production, with lighting and design. And the school had a design class. They had music strand, a musical theatre strand, an art strand, a media strand, all these separate areas. And when shows were put on, they would all come together to then make a show happen. So everybody came together. If there was a musical on, the musicians from music would play in that musical. So everybody was really kind of intertwined in the school. And you learned so many disciplines from so many people. For instance, if you're in a tech in a theatre show, as a drummer, you can be sat there for, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, doing absolutely nothing, just sitting there waiting. And I really do believe that having that level of discipline from a young age, I was able to do that. Yeah, I mean, going to Brit School, I can't emphasize how much I enjoyed that place. I loved it.
And if you have to wait, that's part of also a show. Then there comes a moment and the time is there and you have to perform. How do you do that? Because I am sometimes in the line of speakers. I'm a public speaker as well. And then sometimes I'm the last speaker, the keynote speaker, and I have to wait and wait and wait. But when the time is there, I have to perform. And there's no way back, because there's an audience with people and they really want to enjoy it.
Yeah, of course.
Now that is not stressing out, but how do you do that? So,
I can honestly say that sitting and waiting is not really something that I think anybody really enjoys. But do I get nervous before? No, not really, because most theatre shows that I've done, you're always in an orchestra pit. You're out of the way of everybody. No one can see you.
You can fuck it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, basically. And also my job is primed. When I was a drummer doing shows in the West End, my job was primed to be a drummer. And being a drummer comes with so much responsibility, because if you make a mistake, everybody hears you. There is no getting away from it. We used to call it a train crash. That was it. If a drummer made a mistake, the whole show would derail.
Oh my God.
And thankfully, I've never done it. I've had some funny moments in my career, but I've never actually train wrecked a show. But I know of very, very famous drummers that have gone into West End shows that have done that.
And what is the fuck up there? Is it out of rhythm or
just maybe not stopping? I know of one instance of a very famous drummer that went into a show and thought, oh, it's just ABBA, it's just Mamma Mia, this is fine, and continued to play. Just kept playing because he thought it was the original song. He hadn't learned the arrangement. And he just plowed through, and everything comes to a stop.
Is it the most important role in a band? If I ask it to a guitarist or a soloist or a singer, maybe they say also yes. But I think it's the most important thing. The rhythm is everywhere.
I think every single instrument has its own level of importance, but I think the thing with the drums is it is the thing that links what the conductor wants to the orchestra. Mm-hmm. If I'm having one of those days where I'm a bit tired or a bit lethargic, or we've done 2 shows in a day, and I suddenly start playing a little bit less than I normally would, I mean energy-wise, then the bass player and guitarist that are in the rhythm section can really feel that. Whereas if I'm really up for it and driving it, nothing changing what I'm playing, but just the energy that I put behind it, that can really drive it. Mm-hmm. But also in a bad way, you can put the wrong energy in. I think sometimes if a conductor and a drummer don't quite match, then what the conductor is wanting to put across, a drummer can kind of spoil that a bit, which is why it's so important to get a good blend between conductors and a drummer. And that's why generally conductors, regardless of what the production would like, they generally ask for their own drummer to come in.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So it is the one of the most important roles. Mm-hmm. And another question. We get a line in the story, but I have many questions. Mm-hmm. Where is the rhythm? Is it... Because if I play, I think I can hear when something is out of rhythm. Mm-hmm. I did some DJing and piano for years. I can hear that. But if I record myself drumming, or I put a beep underneath this, it's bad. So where is the rhythm? Now every atom, every molecule, the whole universe is one big party of rhythms. So rhythm is in our system. So sometimes I think, am I better in worse in listening or feeling to the rhythm of my cells or the atoms? So to my question, where is the rhythm in your body?
Okay, so there's 2 ways that I kind of look at this. I can sit at a drum kit and I can, with my feet, I can have the left foot doing something, the right foot doing something completely different, this hand doing something, that hand doing something, looking at a conductor and looking at a piece of music, all in the same second. Mm-hmm. But I cannot dance for anything. I'm such a terrible dancer. So somebody you would think has incredible rhythm as a drummer, to then say they can't dance because I don't feel the rhythm in my feet dancing, in my body.
Interesting.
That is where I kind of split it. And if I am with any musical instrument, then I really have the rhythm. Or if I'm with my hands, anything, I can feel that rhythm. And I even feel it listening to music, being somewhere, in the car, in a shopping mall, anything. It's always being picked up, always being received. But the moment somebody asks me to move to it, I have no clue.
No.
It's the most alien thing to me in the world.
Interesting.
Yeah. So where is the rhythm?
Yeah, is it? Yeah, you feel it, and because if you do rhythm with drums, you have to do it exactly on the how we call it, on the mat.
It's basically on the. If you're playing on a click, you have to play on the beat.
I understand that, the click. Yeah. So not everybody knows that, but sometimes you have something in your ear that is clicking. But if you don't have that, that is really interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I know, especially nowadays, working in studios and shows, playing to a click is just very, very normal. the weirdest example I can give you is that. So I've played drums on Mamma Mia in London in the West End since 2006. I did my first ever show, and I go in as a dep. I go in and cover, and the show has a click that is in that show. The whole thing is on click. And it's there because
there's some beep in your ear.
It's a tempo that
Tempo,
continues on. And the reason why they have it is because they really wanted to use some of the original ABBA samples, and they were done to a click. So in order to trigger those samples, you need to be playing at the exact tempo that those samples were created at. And it's also really good for the choreographer and good for the dancers, for everybody to keep everything consistent. But in that show, the click is a cowbell sound followed by like a hi-hat. So it goes chat, 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 everything, the whole way through. And the weirdest thing is I've never seen the show out front. And I cannot tell you how I think scared and discombobulated I would be listening to the show without the click. Because that click is like an instrument now in the show.
It's always there.
Yeah, so even if I hear Dancing Queen on the radio or Mamma Mia or Voulez-Vous, if I don't hear that click, it sounds so weird. It sounds so strange.
It became a part of
It's become a part of the arrangement in my head, which is so bizarre.
Amazing. And if you play without a click, for you, if we record it and we then put a click underneath it, do you think it's in sync? Is a body capable? You know, the question behind this question is, sometimes when you do something that is very, very nice and you like it, 5 hours can feel like 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. But if you don't like something, sometimes 5 minutes feel like 2 hours. Mm-hmm. So I dove into what is the brain capable of, if we think about rhythm and time. Mm-hmm. And I came across hypnosis, and I dove into that. And then they speak a lot about time distortion. So the brain is capable of different rhythms, but also different times. Mm-hmm. If you have an almost fatal accident, everything moves very fast in a few seconds and it feels very slow. Mm-hmm. So how do you get yourself and your body in a rhythm? How can you make sure the rhythm is good?
I think, so I do really believe that it's something that is in your DNA or in your makeup in some way, because there have been people that... It's really difficult. No one's ever asked me that question before. Where does it come from? Where is the rhythm? And
I know.
I think...
But I want to know it.
Yeah, I think... Okay, I can give you two examples of this. So the first example is, I did a show back in 2007 called Daddy Cool, which was all the music of Boney.
Daddy Cool.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. And when you have your own chair in the West End, that is, you are the main drummer. Your name is in the program. But as a drummer in the West End, you can take off anytime you want, basically. And you get people yourself to come in and substitute for you and dep for you. And I had a few people that came and did it for me. And there was an example of two people that didn't quite work out. The conductor wasn't quite happy. The first one followed the conductor beautifully, exactly what the conductor wanted, did exactly what he wanted to do. But when it came to the click track, he couldn't play to the click track very well. And the band didn't like the feel of how this guy played. But the other guy played beautifully and everything felt great, but couldn't follow the conductor. Mm-hmm. So there was, which one do you do? And in the end, I was able to help the guy that had the rhythm and could really, really play to the click, because he can learn things about following a conductor. He can learn that. But the other guy, I couldn't really do much with, because ultimately you've either got it or you haven't. And that sounds really harsh, but for all the musicians that I've played with in my life and the amount of people I've been around, that stuff doesn't really ever get better. The sense of where something is, you can tune it, but ultimately, if I go into a show and I see a drummer or anywhere, someone playing in the street, and I see them playing, if they've really got it, then they've got it. It makes me feel great. Makes me feel great.
It's a feeling, huh?
Yeah, and if there is somebody that it's moving everywhere and it's a bit messy, and even if it's out by a fraction, it bugs me. It just makes me go, oh, I don't want to listen to it. It has to be there. Is
it true that some people are not musical? I don't know if that's English. In Nederland say you're not muzikaal.
Yeah.
Is it true, or can you teach it? Because the reason I ask this is because everything is a rhythm, and it all starts with the atoms.
Yeah.
So, can you teach somebody, not maybe the level where you are on, but a lot of people have heard somewhere in their life you are not musical. I
think that's a cop-out. I think that's I think everybody has the ability to be musical. I do believe it's there. I believe that if you got somebody in that said they weren't musical, and I sat down with them for an hour, I could teach them something musical that they could do.
Yeah, that was my second question. Can you teach people who think they are not musical to
be musical? Yeah, I think with regard to singing, I think that's a different thing, because that is
hardware.
Yeah, it's biology.
Biology.
Yeah, I think it's to do with the way that you're. For instance, a trumpet player I know many years ago was amazing. Could get all these really high notes. Was really, really good. And then he had a problem with one of his teeth, and he had to have it fixed. Suddenly, the air,
oh my God,
changed as he was blowing, and we're talking the tiniest change.
Yeah,
the tooth looked identical, and he couldn't get certain notes.
Oh my God!
So that's my point with the voice, and with anything to do with the mouth or throat in music. It really is something that I believe is biological.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I do think that. But I also think, so there's 2 points of it. If you want someone to be musical, you can teach them to play something musical and make them feel it. And what makes somebody musical is if they can play something and someone else enjoys it, whether it just be, I don't know, playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow on the piano, just the tune. If somebody enjoys that, you're musical, okay? But if you want to get paid for it and do it as a job and be successful at it, I think that's a different level.
Yeah.
And I don't think everybody can do that.
But most of the things in life, you have people who are talented. Some people have talent for something.
Yeah, for sure.
And then if you put in the work and the pain and the frustration, and you have the discipline, you can go very far.
Yeah, I do believe that.
But what do you think? If people have talent, not only musical talent, but talent, can you become big with it? Whatever big, if you don't have discipline?
I think you really do need discipline.
Isn't it?
I think also the discipline with it is something that gets you through the days where you're not quite feeling it. But I do believe that discipline and drive are one in the same thing. If you really would like something and you want to go and get it,
discipline is easy.
Yeah, discipline is easy because you want to do it.
Yeah.
So for me, the word discipline can sometimes have a negative association. I don't think it has to be negative at all.
No.
I think it can be an extremely positive thing.
Yeah.
Why not be disciplined in what you do?
You had to be disciplined to not play drums.
Yeah, I had to be disciplined to stop, to shut up.
Yeah. Way back in your life, 16, starting composing. Tell a bit about your 20s and also tell what is composing? What is it?
Well, basically, so between 16 and 18, I was at Brit School, and then after that, I was asked if I wanted to do an extra year at Brit School as the music business side of it. So it was the legal side, the contractual side.
Nice.
Where you did 1 day a week, that was it. And you would just go to college and learn about accounts, and you learn about how to submit royalty statements and the whole business side of music, which not many people took up, but I was like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
So I did that. But at the same time, they hired me as the drum teacher. So I was a student and also a teacher at the school. And that was great. I really loved it. But then I had an opportunity to go to America. I was going to go to Musicians Institute in Hollywood and study there for a few more years. And I was thinking about it and what to do. My parents were going to take me out there to have a look. And then I got offered a job working for a band that worked on the Shetland Isles up north of Scotland.
Of course.
Yeah. And they said, look, your music teacher is a guy called David Beer. He was Pink Floyd's vocal coach. He was my music teacher at Brit School. He was involved in so many Pink Floyd albums. And he said, look, I know these guys. They live in Shetland. They're looking for a drummer. I think you'd be perfect.
New Life University, een platform voor persoonlijke ontwikkeling.
Een platform waar we veel meer voor je kunnen betekenen dan alleen deze podcast. Wij willen mensen helpen een sterke verbetering van hun leven te realiseren. En dat kan zowel op privé als zakelijk vlak zijn. Ik denk dat mensen tot veel meer in staat zijn. Maar we hebben niet de gebruiksaanwijzing gekregen bij onze geboorte hoe we het beste uit onszelf halen. En dat is de reden waarom wij Powertrail hebben ontworpen. Powertrail is een opleiding van 5 weekenden waar we het hebben over succes, geluk, hoe kom je erachter wat je precies wilt, hoe verbeter je je relatie, hoe krijg je er een, hoe krijg je meer rust en balans, hoe versnel je je carrière, maar ook hoe krijg je nog krachtigere communicatieve skills. En als je al deze dingen bij elkaar optelt, dan heb je een beschrijving van Powertrail. De opleiding die ervoor zorgt dat je het maximale uit jezelf haalt.
Ontmoet bijzondere mensen en leer nieuwe dingen. Update je body, mind, spirit en skills in onze gratis kennismakingsworkshop. Ga nu naar newlifeuniversity.com/workshop.
Okay, well, I won't go to Hollywood. Let's go to Shetland. So that's what I decided to do. So I went up there.
Jesus.
I went up there 3 times a year, and it was freezing cold. And I understand why Scottish people play such fast music now. It's because it's freezing and they need to keep warm. And we toured around Europe for maybe 2 years, in and out. It was never a full-time thing. We would go for 2 weeks and then go for 6 weeks, and I got to see some incredible places. And then I left doing that playing with that band because I'd been doing a really bad circuit of these places like your holiday camps. And it's not anything against holiday camps. It was just the way that it was set up. We were being paid not very well. And we were driving a whole circuit of the entire UK. So it was over probably 1,500 kilometers per week of driving, a gig every single night. And it was for 6 weeks. And on that gig, I met a guitarist, and he said to me, you should really be doing the West End. There's a drummer at Mamma Mia, and he's desperate for people to come in and cover. Okay, so I gave him a call. And he said, come in and have a go. Now, I was 19 at this time. And he said, look, I think you're too young to come and do the show. I really think you're too young. So I said, me thinking, okay, I'm going to take this on the chin and think maybe in a couple of years' time. I've met him. What a great opportunity. So I then phoned my music teacher up and say to him, yeah, I went and sat in, but he said I'm too young. The next day, I get a phone call from the drummer saying, okay, you've been given the green light. You can come and do the show.
What?
Huh? My old music teacher was best friends with the conductor.
Ah.
And I had no clue. I had no idea. And my old music teacher had said, just give him a shot. He's really good at what he does. He will do his homework. He will make sure he has it done. So I learnt the show over 12 weeks. And that's a really long time. But I sat in and watched the drummer do the show maybe 10 times.
Yeah, you put in the work again and again.
Again and again and again.
Yeah.
And I went and did the show. And after the first number, because the drummer has to sit behind you. So you do your first show with the regular drummer checking that you're okay. We call it babysitting. Because you don't get a practice. The first time you do the show is in a real situation with an audience. There is no practice. You just go in and you play. And nobody's heard you play the show before. So the pressure is pretty high.
I can imagine.
Yeah. And the drummer, after the first number, just handed me a check and went, great, that's for Tuesday and Wednesday if you can do it as well.
Wow.
I was like,
not too young.
Amazing. This is cool. And then about 4 days later, I got a phone call from one of the fixers, who's somebody that books all the bands for West End shows. We have a show called Daddy Cool coming in and I want to book you for it. So I'd gone from doing a 1,500 kilometer tour around the UK to having my own West End show within the space of 11 days.
Jesus.
Yeah.
How did it make you feel? Was it a dream coming true, or was it oh my God?
It was incredible.
Yeah.
I thought this is incredible. And I was so nervous the first day that I looked at the music, because we have the band calls where the band calls where the whole band comes together and learns the show first. But half the show wasn't written. And the music supervisor was Shirley Bassey's MD. He was the original MD of Grease, a guy called Mike Dixon. I mean, even now, he's probably one of the biggest composers in the UK, conductors in the UK. And the orchestrator was a guy called Steve Sidwell. He was the guy that put Robbie Williams' album "Swing When You're Winning" together. He played with Robbie Williams and all these people, and he's now conducted and orchestrated for the Oscars. Wow. Incredible people. So I'm there 19 next to all these guys, just thinking, and the pressure was so great.
That's one. Sorry, repeat. Do your story.
The pressure was so great that I couldn't even read the music. It looked like an alien language.
I
was just, what do I?
And then it was already in your system.
I had an app on my phone. And I typed the rhythm in and listened to it and went, oh, yeah, of course, that's what it is. Okay, great.
Oh, my God.
And it was the simplest rhythm.
Classical blackout.
Yeah, complete blackout. Yeah. I was so scared.
Poof. Yeah. Oh, man, I have so many questions. Sorry that I interrupted.
No, it's fine.
Okay, so people can learn how to be musical. But talent is in all sorts of situations is important.
Yep.
And if you have the discipline and you work hard, you can do a lot. Now, a different question. You said you also learned the business side of music. Now, I know that if you have to compose something, I imagine that most of the time you have a sound in your mind, and then you prolong it, and that's a very difficult, sometimes, not always, and sometimes frustrating process to get it done. So you have to put in a lot of hours, I understand. So if somebody listens to your music, they have to pay something for it. And I think it's good because that's your money, you put the effort in. But, and isn't it true that sometimes music comes in your mind and it's coming from the universe? If you know what I mean? And do people still have to pay then? I'm not trying to catch you. I'm interested in how processes work. But I know a lot of people I spoke in my life, creative people, say, I was at the toilet and suddenly, bang, it was in my mind. And I think, well, it's a combination of everything you heard in your life, your own creativity. Basically, my question is, creativity, is it in your mind, or does your mind pick it up somewhere from the universe?
I
You know what I
think-
mean?
I know exactly.
I'm doing my best to speak English,
Yeah,
but
of
I'm not
course.
at your level, so help me a little bit there. But you know what I try to...
I completely understand what you mean. I think it's something that is out there for people to
It's
attain.
out there to attain.
It's out there
How
to
deep
attain.
is that?
But is there, like a door, is there only certain people hold a key to open that door to reach inside and then take that and then make it their own?
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, every composer in the world has a key to an 88 key keyboard with all the same notes. We have exactly the same notes. And everybody makes something
basically.
completely different.
we only have how many?
We have 12.
One octave. We have 12.
Yeah. You know, so everybody has that key, but it's then what you do with it. Okay. Somebody said to me, if there was somebody from 1600s turning up now, what would be the most difficult thing to explain to them? And I couldn't really think of many things. I said a few things. And he said, I really do think it would be explaining we have this cell phone in our hands that is attached to any information in the world, yet we use it to look at cat videos or we use it to look at this or funny things. Anything we want to know is attainable. We can go and get any information to start anything. You know, I remember buying a hard drive years ago and I didn't know how to reformat it. I typed my make and model into YouTube and somebody has done a video of them unpacking it from the box stage. Unboxing and then putting it all on how you do it. If you want to know how to do something, it is out there. So I think anything is attainable. Anything is achievable. But it's to do with the individual and their outlook on life and how they are disciplined to go and get it.
So it's unique.
Yeah.
Yeah. Forget the business question. It was just a bridge to ask you this, because I heard a lot that creativity comes from nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, the creative process for me starts after the idea.
What's an idea?
The idea for me is when I get given something, okay, here's my act, or here is a scene from a film, or here is this, here is that. Then I then respond to that and have an idea. When I wrote my 2 albums, that was probably the hardest part of my entire creative process moment in my life. Because it was for myself.
Yeah.
When I work for clients and people that I write for, they give me a brief to a certain degree, and I also feel that responsibility to make sure it's as good for them as it possibly can be. And everything that I say when we speak originally about we can try this, we can try that, we can do this, I want to make sure that I deliver those things that I say. So the creative process for me, I really feel comes from me wanting to make sure they have the best thing. So I go over so many different versions of things and tweaks and do this and try that. Whereas for myself, it's like, well, who am I doing this for?
Oh man, I completely understand this.
How do I start?
Every house painter has not painted his own house.
Yes.
True?
True.
So you get an idea, you build on that, but let's say you look at a movie and you have to make music underneath a scene. Now, let's say the scene is two people meeting each other in a park. Now, if you look at it and I look at it and a lot of people look at it, it all depends how we feel at that moment. What we have in our rugzakje, what we all have in experienced in life, and the state we are at the moment we look at that movie, and then we get an idea. And if we're being asked make a music or make a melody, then I can imagine that a lot of people have different ideas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But now the question: the customer wants something,
Mm-hmm.
and that's, let's say, one person. So that person gets 5 ideas of 5 different people. One of them maybe resonates. True?
Mm-hmm.
But then you cannot say as a composer, and you cannot be sure this is it. So every time you get tested on your own intuition, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because my intuition is this has to have a violin and a piano and a drums and maybe a guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And you are sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that happens a lot. That happens
I
a
can
lot.
imagine.
That happens a lot. When you do a process like that, so many people have so many opinions. And the hardest thing is that for a composer is to trying to get information that has no musical background. So get information from somebody that has no musical background, can't speak in musical terminology, and I have to try and translate that into what they want. You know, I get things that go, yeah, I want it to be happy. What is happy?
For you.
For you, you know.
What triggers happiness for you? Yeah.
So generally what I do is I make a test of what I think. And it's very difficult in this process because the amount of times I've sent off things to people and they've not responded for a couple of weeks. And
You go crazy.
I've like, just tell me, because this sounds really weird, but when I work for other people, I don't really have much of an ego when it comes to writing music, because I'm a big believer that if I write something for you and you say, I don't like it, I feel that that's another step to what we're going to end up with.
Interesting.
You know, because suddenly we have 100 options and then I give you one and you don't like it. Now, okay, now I have 99. Great.
But so you don't take it personally?
No. Why would I?
The reason I like to talk, that's nice. It's just, I understand. It's 99 options left.
I have less options.
It becomes
left.
more easy.
It becomes easier. This is great, you know. But so many people do not want to say, I don't like this or I don't like that. Because I do believe in myself that if somebody says I don't like something, I will be able to find something that they will like.
There you go. That's a core belief.
I do believe that.
That's a core belief. Now, one of the reasons I ask you this question is because we make movies for companies, and we are good at getting briefings of 1 or 2 sentences. Mm-hmm. And then that's almost crazy, but we make 100, 120 movies per year. And most of the time I speak 30 seconds, 1 minute about it. Mm-hmm. And that's why a lot of companies like it, because they don't like all the scripts and all the crews and all the euros and all the difficult stuff. So I go fully on intuition with the team. Mm-hmm. But that's sometimes difficult. Yeah. Now, in most of the time, we are right the first time. Mm-hmm. I'm happy. But if somebody doesn't like something, I find it difficult sometimes. But what you say is, oh, no, I have thousands of ideas. Everything is possible. But it's difficult, all those options. You just cross one option. Mm-hmm. You don't like it. So I have one option less. Mm-hmm. So it's more easy. That's a very nice way of looking at it.
Why not? I also look at it as well that it's also very difficult because in the creative process, in my time, we all try to work as efficiently as possible. So I will send a demo to somebody and I will say, it is still in its early forms. So there will be
managing expectations.
So many different changes on here.
Everything is possible.
All I care about is what does this make you feel? And we spoke about this before, the feeling it gives you. Is it the right feeling? Is it the right energy? Mm-hmm. And when you close your eyes, do you see yourself performing to this? Or do you see this working for what you are trying to attain? Because most composers in film, they will give the director, some will give a director an enormous demo with all the instruments and everything. But for instance, Michael Giacchino, the guy that wrote the music for The Incredibles, everything was just piano. There was no instruments. All the themes were there. Everything was signed off just as a piano. So the director obviously had, and it was his first movie as well, the first movie he ever did.
Wow.
And it was signed off on just piano. And then all the brass and the string sections and everything comes in, and you just listen to it and go, that's incredible.
I've seen the masterclass of John Williams.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I saw him at the Hollywood Bowl in Los Angeles.
I don't think I can find it very fast now. No, I cannot find it. But I think it was masterclass.com.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, you know that, eh?
Yeah. There's a great one with Hans Zimmer on there as well. John Williams is one of my favorites. The things he has to say. There's another fantastic with him and Steven Spielberg talking about the flying theme from E.T.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's great.
Is it online?
It's on YouTube, yeah.
Oh.
All these things,
Thanks.
all these, there's like little 10-minute clips that were from the DVDs, as like extras that people have put onto YouTube. And they're talking about the flying theme and how this all comes together and why it works. And interestingly, the flying theme from E.T. was the first time ever that a director had said to a composer, okay, you're looking at the screen and you're trying to match it and it's not working because the way that the film had been edited wasn't fitting right with the music, and John Williams just couldn't get it. So Spielberg said, take the screen down, you play the music how you feel it should be played.
And video editors get it done.
And we will do it later. First time, one of the first times that ever happened.
Wow.
You know, that's where the music really took precedent, because he really believed that the music was the thing driving the story at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I find fascinating about music, that we all listen to it all the time, whether it be our phone going off. Somebody's created that ringtone.
Everything is music.
Everything is music.
The whole universe is
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
True, eh?
Yeah, everything is audio and sound. Yeah.
It's true. Why has music such a big impact on people?
I think it really resonates, and I don't mean emotionally
Literally,
resonates. I mean physically.
Physically.
Physically
Okay,
resonates.
I'm going to stop you there. We dive into that later. Is it true that 100 years ago the A tone, ting, was given just another frequency? I heard it. That was amazing.
I've never heard that.
Oh man!
I might have to check that.
All the music, basically, I don't know if it's true, but all the basic music we hear is off tune if you check it with the body rhythms.
I know that some orchestras will like tune to slightly different A.
Yeah.
So A is 440. The frequency at
432, I think.
Yeah, 432, 442 I've heard of.
Okay, go back to the 432.
That obviously
We
is,
were talking about hertz. It's gonna be a bit nerdy now, but
yeah. So
Tell me.
that's obviously a slightly lower frequency. So the vibrations create a slightly different pitch.
so you need a begin tone to keep it very simple, and then all the other tones are built on that.
Yeah. If I'm really honest, I don't know what the numbers are of each note of the scale. I just know that A is we generally tune to A 440.
Yeah, that's for you.
That's all I know.
Yeah.
That's all I
I
know.
cannot play as well as you, but
Yeah.
I'm the nerd with the figures. Yeah, 440.
Yeah. And generally it comes from an oboe generally in an orchestra. I don't know why that is, if I'm really honest. Again, it's generally the conductor at the beginning of, if it's an orchestra, we'll point to the oboe, and the oboe will give a concert A.
Cool.
And then everyone tunes around that.
Cool. Resonates. So
Yeah.
the question was, why has music such a big impact on people? So you use the word resonates. It literally resonates with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really does. If people are at a live concert and the bass is quite loud, you can literally feel the vibration flowing. You can feel it. And I think that is the thing in music. Even with the piano, let's say, for instance, somebody's having a tough time in their life and they start finding they're leaning towards listening to certain types of music, then that music will resonate and the lyrics also will resonate with them to make them sometimes maybe feel happier or sometimes feel sadder. Or if somebody's happy, or we go to the gym and we want to work out, we use music that is of a certain tempo as well. Yeah. There is around 123 to 127 BPM generally is kind of dance music. And most dance music is around that tempo. And that's what we generally use for running.
Amazing. Everything is rhythm.
Yeah, and for working out, yeah.
Sometimes if I walk down the street or I listen to radio and there's another sound in the room, sometimes I hear the ticking rhythms, and sometimes they are off, and if you wait long enough, they're coming back.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's normal. I have that all my life.
Yeah, that's really. I mean, I wouldn't say it's something.
Armin van Buuren also had that. I think everywhere he heard the offbeat, and if he waited long enough,
it would come back in sync.
And then we're out of sync. Yeah.
There's there's so many examples of that. I mean, I can literally be listening to a car and say, for instance, the car stops, or I hear a gear go in, or it starts juddering at a certain thing. That will trigger something for me.
Rhythm.
You know, that will trigger something for me. It's really strange, but on the district line tube station, on the district line tube, they have specific trains that they have, and it goes ba ba. That's it, just 2 notes, and all I think of is the theme from Hook that John Williams wrote. Every time I'm sat on that train, it goes ba ba. I go ba 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 da. I can't help it. I cannot help it.
Yeah.
I don't sing it out loud.
Is it like in your head? Is it like Pavlovian reaction also?
Yeah, it just like springs into gear. But that's something. Talking about the musicophilia thing with Oliver Sacks, his whole study was all about putting receptors on the brain, and he was played 3 different types of music. One he didn't like, one that he thought was okay, and one that he adored. And the CT scans that came back with the blood flow to the brain was unbelievable. I was just like, this is incredible. The piece of music that he loved, his brain just filled up with blood. Literally filled up with blood.
Wow.
They were like, this receptor here that is for happiness and for this and for that. I mean, I don't know much of the technical terms of it, but music and the brain, if anyone is interested, music and brain and neurology, all of those things together, this book is just unbelievable.
It's all interconnected, isn't it?
All interconnected. Mm-hmm. There was a drummer that had Tourette's syndrome, really, really bad, and he was ticking constantly.
Gilles de la Tourette.
Yeah, just continually ticking. And the only thing that stopped him was playing the drums. And they were describing it to me that if you imagine the wires in the brain, and then there's like a cut in them, that electrode that has to jump, that is the tick. And when they did the scans, they were literally seeing some of these connections reforming as he was playing a rhythm.
You're talking about synapses. Yeah. Wow.
As they were putting everything back, that was the thing that was bringing it back. And I was just like, there's a whole hour documentary on musicophilia on YouTube with Oliver Sacks.
Thank you very much.
Unbelievable.
No more sleep tonight.
Yeah, I get goosebumps even thinking about things like that.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Talking about creativity, can you make sure that when you need your creativity, you have it? I have a few things that I do. Mm-hmm. So I have a Bose headset in ear, and it has noise cancelling, and I don't put music on it. So I'm completely zoomed out. That's one of my tricks. The other trick is I go sit in the car. Just before I started this conversation with you, I was 5 minutes away from office, thinking about what we are going to do, zoomed out. Sometimes I have to write a speech and I have only 30 minutes and it has to be delivered to 1,000 people. So sometimes it's very difficult because you think, oh, I hope I have the creativity. I hope I will find words. In my case, it always works. Not only under pressure, but I can steer it a bit. But it took me a lot of years to find out what my buttons are to become in a creative state. If I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I have a very difficult thing to do with a deadline and I have to be delivering something creative, I just go in the shower and I do a deep meditation in the shower, 10 minutes or something like that. And I tell my brain, at 8 o'clock this morning, that is, and it be very specific. So brain, you have 1 hour and 50 minutes. Give me that idea. And then I'm gonna do something else. I learned that I have to do something else, otherwise the idea doesn't come. And I get it on time.
Okay.
But it took me a lot of years.
Yeah.
But that's not the same creativity you talk about, because I think that's a more intense process. My question is, and also for the people who are watching this and a lot of professionals are looking at it and people who really go for it, that kind of people need creativity sometimes at will. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Can you teach me or tell me how you do it so that...
Turn it on and off.
Yeah. How do you turn on your creativity?
I think... So if you have done enough research, you've prepped enough, and you...
There you go. This is a very important ingredient. So
yeah,
you have to put the work in. So you have to do the preparation.
Yeah. I think if you do those things and you have enough in the library, I always refer to my brain as like a library. You don't always want to read every book at the same time. You just
But it's in the library.
You have things in the library. And there may be a book that I will probably won't read for 16 years or 20 years. But if I need it, I know it's there. That's kind of how I look at my brain. And sometimes I will choose not to go down a certain route to research something because I don't want it filling up that level of the brain, because I know it's something that is not for me. But yeah, I do believe that you can turn it on and turn it off. It's what are the circumstances. If you desperately need to have something there and then the impetus of having to have it is something that can really help. There's a great
time constraint, or
a time constraint, a deadline. I generally, whenever I get a project, a client might not give me a deadline, but I always give them a deadline. I go, right, this will be delivered by.
That's
and they're
another
like,
ingredient.
They're like, oh, okay, well, that's only 4 weeks away. Yeah. That's when we're going to do it by.
Yeah.
Because I have your project, we're going to finish it, it's going to be done, it's going to be great.
Public commitment.
Yeah. And it's done. And I always generally try and deliver before the deadline, because then we can tweak it and change it, and yeah.
That's a nice trick.
Yeah.
Okay, you wanted to start a story.
So I think that you can be very creative at will. And I think that one of my inspirations is, I'm going to see if I get this right. I think it's the Coen brothers, the guys that write a lot of films. They wrote Burn After Reading, really funny films. So let me just get this right. One of them's more of an actor, the other one's more of a writer, I think. But they both do collaborate on things. I could be completely wrong with this. But the one thing I do know is one of them had severe writer's block.
Yeah, that's my
yeah.
Next question, thanks.
And they were like, okay, we have writer's block. So do you know what they did? They wrote a script about a guy that has writer's block.
Jesus.
I mean,
geniuses.
How genius is that?
Yeah.
And it is that thing that I always have faith I will get to. And it's something that I would love to have written somewhere actually in my studio. It's called the Elusive Obvious. Something that is so elusive to us, when we get it, seems so obvious. Mm-hmm. And that is when I think you know you have something that is right.
Mm-hmm.
Something is now like, why didn't I think of that before?
Yeah.
It's, but before it's so elusive to you.
Yeah.
You're like, I can't find this. And then when you get it, oh.
Wow. Do you have a message with music?
It depends. I think for me, music has to be something, again, that we've spoken about, has to resonate with people. It's not going to resonate with everybody. If I were to think I could, 100% of people would like what I do, I don't think there is. I don't focus on, let's say, for instance, 70% of people like what I do and there's 30% of people don't. I don't really focus on the 30%. I just think, wow, there's 70% of people that like what I do.
Mm-hmm.
How great is that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to start adjusting what I do for these to satisfy this.
Sometimes if I have a large audience with people, I tend to focus on the one that doesn't like it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. But I know the tricks in my brain to shift it. But sometimes it's an active process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was told to me by a very good friend of mine. His name's Andy Pask. And he has been Hans Zimmer's bass player for 30 odd years. And we've done things together.
You have a great network. You are also a bit lucky that you I've met all those great inspirators also. Eh?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Because that becomes your standard.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Andy I've known for maybe 10 years. And he's someone that I can just pick up the phone to and we just chat. He's like a friend. He's, but he's really been there and done it.
Wow.
You know, he was the bass player on Inception. He was, he's been in the sessions of like Pirates of the Caribbean sessions for Hans Zimmer. I saw him at Wembley Arena with Hans. He's incredible at what he does. And he was the one that said to me, there are 70% of people that love what I do, and I've been booked throughout my whole career for doing what I do. And there's 20% of people that will not book me at all because of what I do. But I'm not about to dissatisfy 70% of people to change for 30%.
Put, yeah.
And that was when I had this release of like, okay, I don't need to worry about these people here. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to focus on these people and actually use that positivity that people are enjoying this to grow and become better.
I don't know if it's completely legit, the information I give you, but this is the information I have. You ever heard of Dr. Emoto, who did research with music and water?
Oh, wow.
Not only water and music, but also other things. And when he took water, I don't know if it's legit, but you can find it on the internet. He took water from the Fujiwara river, I think. Mm-hmm. And then he had a few bottles, and he put in the bottles the same water. He just divided the water in the bottles. Mm-hmm. Then he separated the bottles and put a speaker that played classical music, a speaker that played, music, and hard rock. Mm-hmm. And then in a laboratorium, he cooled down the water below freezing point so that it became ice. And he looked at the ice crystals. Now the ice crystals on classical music, and that's broad classical music, but classical music, were perfectly symmetric. And the music, the hard rock music, had an effect on the water that it was completely wild and no structure in the crystals and the water. Now, a lot of people say they repeated the experiments. I did not do that. But I think I have a feeling it's legit. And the reason I ask you this is because there are some truths, some scientific truths, let's call it first principles, also in music, because everything is frequency, everything is rhythm, everything is energy. Mm-hmm. So it's amazing that you get beautiful crystals with classical music and basically fucked up crystals with hard rock. Then some people, it's a lead in for the question, some people like hard rock music and some people like classical music. Now, you can almost say that it's unhealthy to listen to hard rock. I don't know if it's true. This podcast is called update your opinion. So I do not have an opinion. Of course I have, but I want to invite interesting people so that they can think about it. So Emoto did that, and with my simple brain, I think, okay, it's unhealthy to to listen to hard rock music, and I see a lot of people enjoy it. So it's not that I say you cannot do it, but I am a complete fan of first principles in science.
Okay. So
What do you think about it?
I want to research this because I think this is fascinating. I've never heard of this, but I can now put two things that I know of to what you've just said. So first of all, in some of the London tube stations, they have had some issues with crime and people fighting and et cetera. So they play classical music in the hall of the.
Keep on talking. I have it on the screen now.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's amazing. Here's the classical music, and here's I think it's the hard rock music. You see?
Oh my God!
I have to say one more time. I don't know if it's completely scientific legit, but it's amazing. This is the guy. You see?
Yeah.
Same water, different frequencies. Okay, London.
That's amazing.
It is.
Okay, I'm going to look into that.
Yeah.
They in tube stations will play classical music so that people will be calmer.
Yeah, less violence.
Less violence.
Yeah.
In supermarkets, on a Monday or a Tuesday, they will play slow music over the tannoy. On the weekends, they will play faster paced music to make people move quicker, so it doesn't get as busy. Those things psychologically, the way that music is used, I find interesting. And also the frequency with the water. If you think about the water, the way that it is formed perfectly with classical music, that would surely, we are 80% water. Surely that is something that would make us calm. And if it's the rock music is making you feel a certain way, maybe that's why people use high octane music to run to.
What is high octane?
Like really fast
Fast
pace,
tempo.
or lots of intensity going on, lots of rhythm, not so placid, to do tasks that require energy, or you want to pump something up.
Yeah, the fitness music.
Yeah.
you referred.
Yeah. There's another amazing technique that I know of with sound, and it was used in a lot of rallies many years ago with public figures before they were speaking, generally in dictatorships across the world. And they would have a very low hum sub that we can't even hear the hum. So low the frequency that they would play throughout the auditorium before before this person spoke. And as they went to speak at the mic, they would turn it off, and suddenly people felt this relief, and they had no reason why.
Holy moly! I
They had
didn't know
no
that.
reason why.
Wow.
And it was purely because this frequency was the thing that made them feel slightly uncomfortable. That really low reverberation with the water in the body, going back to this. And then in the moment they went to speak, boom, they turn it off, and suddenly people felt at peace. And they felt, this is the reason why. I mean, that's audio warfare.
Oh my God! Well, audio warfare. I think it's being done. I think I'm not sure, but I think in Iraq War II, they used sound to make sure people felt uncomfortable.
Yeah,
and there was I dove into it a bit, but I don't know what the truth is. But they had frequencies that changed the inner voice of people.
Oh wow!
Phew.
Yeah.
So that a lot of soldiers overgave witte vlag. I don't know how to call it, but they said, okay, surrender.
Yeah, the white flag.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I choose a lot of words. The white flag. Yeah, the white flag. So sound and music have a lot of sound of music.
Sound of music. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Sound and music and frequencies have a big effect on people.
Yeah.
So are you aware of that when you compose and when you deliver something to the world?
Yes. So the first big thing that I kind of composed was a show called Impossible, and it's where Sabine and I met. And my job was to write music for a 2.5 hour show. And I sometimes had very little time to do it in. And I decided to have a reoccurring theme that basically whenever anybody got up onto the stage, because there was a lot of audience participation, there would be a particular cue that was played, and it was a waterphone. It's one of my favorite instruments ever. It's just like a stick with nails around it and water in the base, and you get a violin bow.
What is it called?
It's called a waterphone.
What? Yeah.
And you use a bow and you bow it. You hear it in a lot of horror films, but it's like it can be quite a cooling sensation. That's it there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You get the bow and you literally bow the whole thing around it. I first saw it in the musical Hair. The percussionist used it to start the first number with. It was the first thing in the show. I was like, that's amazing. I want to use one of those. So I used this.
As a Pavlovian reaction?
Yeah. So anytime that somebody stepped on the stage, it was like they broke the like breaking the boundary or the going into the world, into this world. And whenever they would come out, they would have another form of the waterphone in a different, length or note, just to keep that reinforcing that throughout the show unconsciously.
But this is using music and sounds very intelligently.
Yeah,
this is not just playing a song.
No, this is not at all. And things with harmony as well. For instance, that in music you have this thing called the root of a chord. And if you're in C major, you will have C as the root. Okay, the chord of C has C, E, and G in it, but you can have inversions of that. So you can have
G, C, E.
Yeah, but in the bass. So you have C in the bass, which gives you a really lovely C chord, a C with an E in the bass, or a C with a G in the bass, and it makes everything feel like it floats a bit.
How is that possible? You have majeur and I forgot it a bit. I had it a long time ago, but
major, minor, diminished, half diminished,
seventh,
augmented,
seventh,
sevenths, and diminished sevenths, and all these kind of.
But they make you feel different.
Yeah. So this is there's a famous comedian called Bill Bailey in the UK, and he has this amazing stand-up with an orchestra. He has a whole orchestra and stand-up, so he uses music, and he says, "Okay, so there's the background to this information is that a major fifth is basically a note between the first note of the scale and the fifth note of the scale, and it sounds really lovely. If you want an augmented fourth, you drop down one note. Okay, so you go from a G down to a G flat. Yeah. So he says that you always know in 70s cop films when the cops are there, because you have this, everything's in perfect fifth. Everything's great. But when it cuts to the baddies, you get this, and that's the augmented fourth that you get there.
Jeez. Right? Being programmed and manipulated. Yeah.
And he then comes in with a joke and says, my mum always says there was a very fine line between good and evil, but I didn't realize it was a semitone, which I love. It's one of my favorite lines. But it's that. And also Lydian, we have this thing called the Lydian phrase where if I want to make something feel like it's floating, I use a particular scale to make it feel like it's flying. Do you know Back to the Future, the film?
Mm-hmm.
Ba 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 ba. That note, ba ba ba, is the Lydian scale, and it's used in so many things to make anything fly.
And is Lydian scale the same as the tone that goes up and up and up and up? Yeah. You think it goes up and up.
You think it goes up, but it can go up and down and move around.
Amazing.
I think this is Lydian as well. It's the thing from Harry Potter. Ba 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 ba.
Yeah. In Dutch I say zit er net tegenaan. That's I don't know how to call it. Yeah. And that's a Lydian scale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that is, so there are so many tricks that composers use.
But those tricks work on all the people on the planet, or is it cultural thing, or?
So I think it's a kind of something that we've learned over the years. So
Conditioned.
we're conditioned, you know, so you will get, for instance, if you're going to do a film, they will put a thing called temp music in. So editors will use the temp score to edit to better, and then they give the composer that and say, this is the feeling we want. And it's a nightmare for a composer because sometimes you will never write something better than the temp score.
Oof.
Because the director's used to it.
Yeah. And the editor.
And the editor's used to it, and no matter what you do, the same with performers as well. They come to you and say, I want to get my music changed. And you write it and redo it, and they go, yeah, it's not the same as the last one.
Question.
No, it's not.
Question. Can you compose music with all the legit first principles and all the tricks and insights that you're 99% sure you have a hit? So, please answer that question.
I think... Oh, it's a really difficult question.
Sorry for that.
That's good. No, I like it. I like to think.
And this is because one of my big hobbies and passions is finding first principles and finding common denominators. That's what I do. So if you invite me to your studio, I scan you 30 minutes, maybe 15 minutes or an hour, and then I copy a lot of what you do. I do not have the talent, so I will not reach your level, but I have learned how to learn.
Yes.
So that's one of my biggest passions in life. Sometimes they ask me, if you lose everything, what is the one skill you want to keep? If you can keep one skill, then is it the ability and the knowledge how a brain learns. So I call that success modeling. So I'm a walking encyclopedia of a lot of successful people, and I know the 2-3 common denominators of that job or that profession. I completely forgot my. Can you build on the things you know and make a hit? So it is pure of interest for myself to know if there are common denominators. It's not to make it difficult. I really want to know.
I know. So I think. With regard to hits, as in like songs that become really successful. And
and after this we're going to talk about earworms. I wanted to.
Okay. So basically, there are songwriters out there. So let's forget film music, forget that type of writing. Let's think about
the 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, the 3.5 minute pop song.
Yeah.
There's an incredible guy that nobody, I would be very surprised if anybody listening knows who this guy is. His name is Egg White. Okay. His real name is
Egg White.
Yeah, but it's only one G. His name is Francis Egg White. And he is responsible probably for the majority of the number ones in the UK and a few in America. He wrote hits for Adele. He's written hits for Natalie Imbruglia. He's written hits for Will Young, James Morrison. And check out the songs he's written, and you will just go, "Oh, this guy." He is, songs written by Egg White. That's the guy there. He is a hit maker. He literally churns out everything he does is a hit, and I believe someone like him, he has a formula. I don't quite know.
That's what I tried to say.
He has a formula. And I don't know whether this was told to me by another friend of mine, producer. I don't know whether this is true, so don't quote me on this. But the process that I think Egg has is that he has a room that's full of vinyls. And he says to somebody that's in his studio, okay, we're going to write a song today. So I want you to pick a vinyl on here, and we're going to listen to this. And we're going to take some of the chords and basically turn them round and backwards and take some influence from that. And let's start from there as a starting point. And it's an incredible way of learning, because when you write a chord sequence, you write it in the knowledge that this goes to here, to here, to here, and that sounds great. But he takes it, well, let's take that process backwards. How about if we reverse the process?
Almost reverse engineering.
Yep. Yeah. And honestly, the the hits that he's had is incredible. But then let's look at film scoring. John Williams, the themes that he's written, people, you can sing them, people know them.
For life.
For life, yeah. I was really fortunate. I went to LA about 18 months ago. I've got some friends that live out there. And they said, right, we've got you a really nice surprise. We're going to go to the Hollywood Bowl tonight and watch John Williams in concert. I was like, what? Oh. That's amazing. And he said, but I got you the ticket after we'd already got ours, so you're going to be on your own. You won't be with us. I was like, okay, great. So I sat on my own. And John Williams comes on. He's conducting the LA Phil. And he says, so look, we're going to be doing music from my films with the film on the screen. And we're going to talk a little bit about the process and how we put it together.
Almost. Wow.
But listen, I can't do this without the person that directed the film. So here's Steven Spielberg. So on he comes.
Holy moly.
And they both are on stage talking. Again, goosebumps.
Yeah.
They are talking about scoring the films and how some of the things, especially in Indiana Jones, they weren't the final, the things that we hear in the final cut. They changed the music several times and they'd been through so many different versions and they disagreed on this or agreed on this, or it was a real process. And some of the things they did, just incredible. So John Williams as a composer, he's a hit maker.
So there is a formula.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want that formula.
I'd love it. I would absolutely love it. I think also these guys have their formula to become successful, but I think the people they have around them as well, they have incredible teams of extra writers and orchestrators that really help. I mean, you know, a composer for a film will have a music team of maybe 20 to 30 people.
Oh, nobody knows that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have a big team around them. They write a lot of the themes and everything like that, but the orchestration you will hear, like what the cellos are doing underneath or the drums are doing, they have orchestrators that help with that. And it's incredible. It's incredible, that whole team of people. Like, for instance, Hans Zimmer has a team of people that are right with him, and then they go off and do their own movies. So if you want to do movies, like to work with Hans at his studio as one of his orchestrators, and you learn the trade, and then you go off and do your thing with other directors and things.
At this moment, most of the time, what do? You play music or you compose music?
Composing is the thing that I'm doing now.
Can you take us to step by step to a process? Maybe something you did last month, or you're going to do, or you're right in now?
So what I'm currently doing at the moment, because obviously the world has kind of stopped a little bit at the moment.
Yeah, to put a timestamp on it, it's the April 10th, and we are right in the middle of coronavirus.
Yeah. I decided, so the other thing as well was because I saw that the world was going to a bit more kind of videos and digitalized and things like that. I decided I'm going to learn how to use Final Cut Pro. And also it's a really good thing for a composer who wants to do media to learn what the editing process is from the other side. Yeah. So that when I have a conversation with an editor or somebody who's a director, I can understand a little bit of what they do. I'm no expert, but I understand it. Yeah. So at the moment, I decided I have a lot of friends that we're all in isolation. What a great time than to basically share people's talents along with some of my music. So we've been doing this thing called lockdown sessions, where I've taken, so far we've done two. The other one was released today, actually, this morning. The second part was released this morning. Where can we see that? It's on YouTube under Ryan Martin Music.
I cannot show things from YouTube, otherwise get problems. But we'll make sure to send me the link. People want to see and hear it.
Yeah, for sure.
Lockdown sessions.
Yeah, so we've done two. The first one was with 8 people, and the second was with 12. And the process of that is, okay, so I took 2 pieces of music one from my kind of big filmic trailer album, which is really, again, high octane and lots of energy. And the second one, which was more filmic, so more kind of picturesque, more things for documentaries, wildlife things. It was called Evolutions. So we took 2 separate tracks, and I got the Logic window and put that with the music and got all the copying done and wrote all the music out.
Logic Pro X.
Yeah, Logic Pro X. Put everything into Sibelius, scored everything out, and then sent the violin part to the violinist, the drum part to the drummer, the bass part to the bass player, guitarists, everywhere, all across the country and across the world. I mean, there's a bass player in Italy, the guitarist is in LA, there's players in London,
Cool.
all over the place. They then record their part, they send it back with a video of them playing it. And then I've put the whole thing into a Final Cut Pro session and edited it so that all 12 are all together on this one screen. Synchronized playing the music. And it's a great way to show a couple of things. One, it's good for me to be able to show what I do and the people that I work with. But it's an amazing thing in this time when all these people have had basically a lot of their source of income taken away with this virus. You know, they can't go out and perform. They can't go and work in shows. Everything's been shut down. What a great way for people that are in the creative process now, because there's so many people now with downtime. They're thinking about what they're going to, their freedom. They're thinking about what they're going to do. So what a great thing for them to see that these people can record from their homes, top quality stuff.
It's amazing.
And employ them while they're doing this.
MacBook Pro, Logic.
Yeah. Amazing. So that was behind it as well. It was something that I wanted to be able to show what I can do, but also to show what these guys can do, and that it doesn't have to stop for them immediately. They can continue to work from home because it's difficult as a musician if your income is going out and playing and you get told you can't go and do that.
It's amazing.
How do you earn from that?
No, this is not a normal situation. And basically, normal. I think the world will not return to the same as before. There are a lot of reasons for that.
I agree. I agree.
It's amazing.
There's lots of things going on at the moment that it is very, very crazy. But I do believe that in this time of everyone being so creative, I think it's really important to showcase these people and what they can do, and they are incredible, absolutely incredible. The guys that are playing on this. And it was really fun to put together. And I in this moment do not want to stop. You know, I haven't had one day that I've sat the whole day in front of the TV or Netflix. Every day there is something to do. There is always something to do. Yeah. Especially
when you're doing your passion.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's so many things that we've covered. Like, for instance, I'm realizing now that as much as I've studied a lot of musical things, so with regard to music technology and music study and notes and all those sorts of things, I've never actually really gone into the science that much. You know, the notion that music is all around us, that rhythm is all around us with molecules and all those sorts of things, I've never really gone into that. And I think that I shall be diving into that a little bit more, because I think that, I mean, it can't hurt to know more of that information. And that's something that, it's something that I really want to find out.
I legitimately believe that everything is frequency and energy, but also it's legit that music change and have changed people's lives for the better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I think music is part of who we are.
Yeah,
that's why I think it's one of the most important things that we need. Mm-hmm. Because how many people that are or were depressed just play a song and feel good? I have a few songs in my car. If I play them, it's okay. When I have to public speak, I have to prepare my voice. So I sing. Mm-hmm. I cannot sing, but I sing. And I have 2 songs, and if I play them, I'm happy.
Yeah.
One of them is 10 Sharp.
Mm-hmm.
You were always on my mind. If I hear that, then I'm completely in focus.
Is that just a warm-up thing, or is that something that you also have a link to that song that makes you feel comfortable?
Yeah,
Is it
well,
like a safety thing?
Also, yeah, it's like somebody who plays tennis does three times the ball and then serves. So it gives me comfort, but it's also for my voice to warm it up. But also the song text is good. So it all comes together.
Everything comes together.
Yeah. So music is, I think, if you take away music, I think you rip off the world of some basic thing we need as a human being.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even if you search onto YouTube, there are quite a few examples where they've taken the sound. They've left the sound on like a scene within a film, but taken the music off. And you watch, like for instance, Rocky climbing the stairs without the music, and
Bam.
it's just
Bam, 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 and it's gone.
Yeah, you take that off, and suddenly what is it? It's a guy running up some steps.
Yeah.
But the music is the thing that says this guy's serious. It says all the energy, all the emotion that is there.
What's the earworm?
The what?
Yeah, but in Holland we call it oorworm. That's a song, when you play it, it's in your mind the whole day.
Oh, that. Yeah. So there is that is something that if you get that hook,
The hook
of it, it's the repetitive hook. And generally the rule is for songwriting is you do the hook twice. So like, how can I explain it? You'd go like, da 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 da. Then you change it. Ba da da ba da ba dum ba 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 dum.
and then it's in your mind.
You never repeat it 3 times. But also, what's really interesting is that if you want to get rid of that, go and listen to that song and finish it. If you only hear a part of it, it will continue in your brain. But if you finish it, go back and physically listen to it, it will go out of your brain. That's what can help with certain people.
What is your mission? Because you can influence people with music. So
if I had something that I wanted to, a mission is I want to leave something behind, something that is tangible that people can be listening to.
Mm-hmm.
There can be my kids that can then look back and listen to something or watch something and go, oh, my great-great-grandfather wrote that. And I'm well long and gone, leaving that mark on the earth for something really positive and something that people can continue to enjoy.
Yeah, but that's the beautiful thing about music. It's not a one-off.
No.
It's forever.
Yeah, it is forever. Good and bad.
Thanks.
Yeah.
New Life University, een platform voor persoonlijke ontwikkeling.
Een platform waar we veel meer voor je kunnen betekenen dan alleen deze podcast. Wij willen mensen helpen een sterke verbetering van hun leven te realiseren. En dat kan zowel op privé als zakelijk vlak zijn. Ik denk dat mensen tot veel meer in staat zijn. Maar we hebben niet de gebruiksaanwijzing gekregen bij onze geboorte hoe we het beste uit onszelf halen. En dat is de reden waarom wij Powertrail hebben ontworpen. Powertrail is een opleiding van 5 weekenden waar we het hebben over succes, geluk, hoe kom je erachter wat je precies wilt, hoe verbeter je je relatie, hoeveel krijg je er een, hoe krijg je meer rust en balans, hoe versnel je je carrière, maar ook hoe krijg je nog krachtigere communicatieve skills. En als je al deze dingen bij elkaar optelt, dan heb je een beschrijving van Powertrail. De opleiding die ervoor zorgt dat je het maximale uit jezelf haalt.
Ontmoet bijzondere mensen en leer nieuwe dingen. Update je body, mind, spirit en skills in onze gratis kennismakingsworkshop. Ga nu naar newlifeuniversity.com/workshop. Investeer in jezelf en volg de Powertrail opleiding. 5 weekenden persoonlijke ontwikkeling waar je alles over je body, mind, spirit en skills leert.
Abonneer je nu op dit YouTube-kanaal en like deze video als je deze podcast nuttig vindt.